Hello everyone and welcome yet another live coding and chill. I'm your host Tony and I hope you're having amazing weeks. As always, let me know what you're working on, if you're working along with me in something similar, if you're doing something else entirely. Let me know. Let me know what you think I should be working on. We have a plan for today. We have a big plan. You can see in the description as well, and I pull up this agenda during the stream many times so we can keep track of what we're doing and whether we're making a dent into this big new software as a service app we're building with SvelteKit. We've done a lot. I'll go on to do like the little demo, which you can actually go and click around yourselves. Tenexify.dev. You can get in, switch to the desktop view so you can see my face better, but most importantly, you can see the desktop much better. So you can get in here. You'll have a prompt to actually log in. If you haven't already, you'll see the light and dark mode, which is not that important as a feature, but I guess it's a bit of a productivity helper app, and dark mode is essential for apps that need to have easy to read text, because your monitors are not a piece of paper. They're more like lamps, so you want dark colors. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent already. When you log in with magic links, which we've set up in the very first stream in this series, you can see your profile. You can change one thing, what should we call you, in helper emails and stuff like that. And you can set up interviews. The interviews you are going to be attending, you're going to be having, you're going to be holding, and putting in a few notes in them. We've done things like being able to sort these according to some of the columns that are sortable. There should probably be like an indicator to show whether a column is sortable or not. Now the indicator is, if you're on desktop, you see the Mickey Mouse hand cursor. But that's by the by. We also did the search feature on localhost. I have many more of those. We can create a new one, have a little screen. We're using multi-UI for some cool things like the calendar here, the date picker, which does work. As you can see, we can add your notes, we can do lots and lots of things. But one of the ideas with this app is to have it be usable, so I'd be willing to maintain it and people would actually be willing to sign up and pay something for this, but also kind of generic, so maybe you'd be able to use it as a starter to get things going and apply your ideas. So you can have like your own about page and whatnot, like the basic things that you need to have a professional looking app going with less effort. And the streams are a helper to help you understand why we made this decision, how all of this code actually works. And today the plan is that we'll start making our app more viable by gating some features. So as it stands, any user, the moment they sign up, so the free users are able to create as many interviews as they want, which it's unlikely you'll run out of money, because people will be creating like 1 million interviews for you unless they are intentionally malicious. But still, it may happen. So by gating features, you are safeguarding against that. However, in reality, most software as a service apps gate features as a way to upsell. So it's not like, oh, only allowing for 3 interviews is essential, because if you were to create 10 of them, then it would go bankrupt. It's not going to be that much data in the database. You won't be paying that much to offset it. But still, we're going to start from that. So not allow free users to create 1 million records in our database, which could potentially make us run out of money. Our Superbase free tier may run out and we may need to start paying. But also, eventually, we will be adding features that do cost a significant amount of money, like hitting OpenAI to get a prompt, a suggestion of what your CV should be, how it should be amended to make it more likely to succeed in a specific company. So maybe this app will be helping you write a generic CV that you can always base any other CV that you create in the future from. But also, you may want to say, all right, I want to apply to Vercel. So let's amend the CV to highlight my past experiences, to make it appear, to highlight, I guess that's the same word, to highlight the things that are more relevant to this job role in Vercel. And then you want to apply to Nintendo, and then you're like, oh, I need to kind of massage things around and actually highlight that these things from my past experiences are the ones that I want the recruiter person or the people that are getting me for the interview round are more likely to see and say, all right, let's give this person a chance. So that's the idea behind this app. Those ChatGPT or generative AI or whatever we're going to do prompts are going to be costing a decent amount of money, like a few cents every time these are requested, which is fine if you can request a few of them. But if a user were to request 1 million of them, well, then yeah, you would be paying a lot. That'd be unsustainable. So even though now with the Superbase records, the database records, we're not going to be running out of money when we get to the OpenAI prompts, then yeah, we will be getting to the point where it's going to be unsustainable, and you may have a use case in mind and that also costs a decent amount per user. So you will want to have tiers for your users. That's what I was leading into. So what we will be doing today is limiting, I guess, the interviews to like 3 or something, and then giving people an error message, I guess, you cannot add anymore, or an alert or something, a notice to say, you have to be upsold now. You're doing well with the free tier. If you like the service, then you need to go to the pro or to the ultra tier. And once they're in the pro tier, they'll have like a bigger limit. And if they're on the ultra tier, they'll have no limit. These are common ways that people like building apps. They like monetizing their modern SaaS apps like that. Also, you could have no free tier whatsoever, but enroll users into the pro tier for 2 weeks, which is the Vercel model, for example. Since I mentioned Vercel already, as an organization, I think they get you in the pro tier without asking you, and you have 2 weeks of that. Every feature works, every feature is amazing. You realize Vercel is amazing, you can't live without it, so then you start forking out the cash when your trial expires. And that's how Vercel makes money, and that's great, because for free users, for free open source repos and stuff, we still have like super generous free tiers. So that may be your monetization option. No free tier whatsoever, but trial periods where people have their free feature, all the features in the world, and then the trial expires and they have to either stop using the app altogether or subscribe for one of the paid tiers that you have, no free tier. And since we're still figuring out what the tiers would be, we'll probably be doing, as I said, free, pro, ultra. We are gonna abstract that logic into an endpoint, and that's how we'll be starting today. We'll be creating an endpoint after I'm done talking about what we've done so far and what we'll be adding. We'll be creating a /me endpoint, me as in me, myself, and I, where we'd be figuring out the user information and the things about what's that user's quota and limits. There are quite a few ways to go about this, but I've never heard anyone solve this problem like this, so I wanted to put it out there because I thought it was quite clever. And I've solved this problem in different ways before, which I will talk about, but as always, what you thought 1 month ago, trash. Johnny's opinions from last month, trash. Johnny's opinions from right now, genius. They're gonna stand the test of time. So we'll see how that works in practice, but I like the idea. The idea behind having an endpoint beside this is that then you can change that business logic behind the scenes. So it's not related to your database schema, whether you're using Stripe or whatever else. You just change this endpoint. That endpoint figures out whether users should have access to things or what are their limits, and you can change that. You can also more easily mock the response on that when you're trying things out. When testing, you may A/B test some things and say this specific user actually allow the ultra tier for them. I don't know. I think it gives more flexibility. I think it allows you to roll with punches more quickly if you do it like this. So that's how we'll start. So maybe we should just get on with it. I did talk about what the app currently has. maybe show the search functionality here where we have more things. So I can search for Valve and just get this one, which may have been second page. Nintendo, the Nintendo jobs, all of that. Yeah, so that was cool. We may be adding more features in this search, like tabs and filters. We'll see. Ask about it, and we will do it. I did add the search functionality because dear commenter suggested this. So here we go. We added it. Your suggestions are always heard. I love showing things that I think people are useful. People have been asking about this SaaS app and the superusers integration and the sample integration as well. That's why we're doing this whole thing, even though I keep dodging actually doing the Stripe stuff, and I'm gonna hide them behind this server endpoint yet again. But we may start listening to Stripe webhooks today. So we are getting into the Stripe integration finally today in part 4. Cool. So anything else we'll add? Today we'll be doing the premium features, the gated features and that sort of thing. We'll be adding eventually the payment links, the way to subscribe to the app, so those limits would make sense and change. And I guess the important thing for the interviews, the idea is to have a unique selling point, which is going to be, we curate your CV. Maybe it's going to be artificial intelligence, where me or other people in the team review your CV and suggest these changes for you or make these changes for you. Or it could be artificial intelligence, generative AI helped. So maybe we'll be asking ChatGPT to make some amendments to your CV. We will be doing cool stuff because maybe you'll be able to upload your PDF and we read from that. Some things that we haven't shown in the channel before, along with things that we have shown. We have shown Supabase many times and Authflows. We have shown OpenAI. But how this works together, they still change. We are using SvelteKit 2.0 today. So that's different to some of the streams, even though there aren't that many breaking differences from SvelteKit 2, but many differences from pre 1.1 alpha and beta versions of SvelteKit, which we started streaming with all those years ago. Anyway, enough rambling, sip of coffee to give you a chance to ask me something. And we get going. So does this still work? Or should I talk about this more? I did use this starter as my starting off point when I did a short-term contract last week, which is why I didn't do the stream, and it was very helpful. The other engineer, the other principal software engineer also said, without being prompted by me, that this was very helpful and awesome. So yeah, this project does work. Is a great starter. If I was going off to do another contract now, I would have started from that other project that I did, which helps keep your starter up to date. You always use the last related one. So if it's going to be another SvelteKit app that I was going to build, I would use that one. But in this case, I'm coming back to this one for you, dear viewers. We're going to be keeping this up to date. That's the problem, I guess, with boilerplates, that you really depend on the community or the person creating the boilerplate to come back and support this, even though things change so rapidly. Well, if you base it off your last project, then you're most likely to have made the changes there because you want to work with the latest and greatest. You want to apply the patch changes and updates, and therefore your last work should be your best work. You always learn things. As I said a while ago, last month's Johnny, trash opinions. Current Johnny, genius. So that applies with projects as well. But having this BRL thing helps me come back and keep it up to date and keep the decisions that we make stellar. If they're wrong, if I find a better way, we'll adapt. We'll explain in the streams. Cool. So the idea is, does this still work? Let's create a new interview. Larian again. I was thinking about Baldur's Gate. Fanfic. Zipper lead writer. Is that a real role? Say Valentine's Day. All right, still works. We created this. Awesome. Not those notifications or anything like that. The idea is, if I were to create a new one, I wouldn't be able to because I'm on the free tier. And don't worry too much if a user has already created like too many. You just block them out, I guess, and you say, all right, you cannot create anymore. And if you happen to delete one, then you cannot go back to the number you had before. Sorry. Helps you from keeping them from gaming the system. I guess if someone was to use this sample already, I would grandfather them into the highest tier, supporting them because they were supporting me. Cool. So, me endpoint, first of all, let's remember what happens when we create the interview. We have a new page, which in SvelteKit, if you see the path, it's on localhost interview/create. So we go to routes, I've nested everything in app, interviews, create this one, you see this, and here, you can see the UI here. It shares a component that the edit form also sees. So the edit forms are interviews / the ID of the interview. At the end, so if I click on an existing one, actually, to edit, then you'll see this here. Oh, I've also added this nice little tab biscuit, which is cool. This would save, but I kind of like it very fresh. It will stay Blender. Save persists, great. But in the create page, let's go there again. Can use the svelte thingy to see where this is. Of course, it's the title component, so not super helpful this time. So this is the create one. The create page has a server file plus page of server.ts, which has a form action which handles what happens when I press the save button. So here we're just doing some stuff, some basic validation of the payload of the form, and then we straight up save into Supabase. So what I'm thinking today is that if the form is valid, if we reach this stage, let's say, then we check using the me endpoint that we'll create how many interviews that user has. So if it's like, you know, if they've got 1 million, then we're not going to allow them and say, oh, you're not allowed to do that. And I guess even before this page should know that they're already over the limit. So maybe not show the create interview button. But if they happen to be there, then they should also say, should it be a different screen? Not sure. I'm trying to think. But maybe let's create the endpoint. I was thinking that should this redirect if you haven't created like an interview? Should it show like a different screen saying you've already created too many, you should delete some first? Which may be annoying enough for people to be like, all right, let's pay to unlock this, or annoying enough for them to turn and never use this again. I don't know, I'm not a product designer. In any case, I do think we will need that /me endpoint. So I'm thinking that if you go to like maybe API/me, let's say, then instead of a 404, you'll be getting a JSON back that will have some details that maybe we'll be needing, maybe your name, I don't know, but more essentially what's your current tier of user, or you could straight up just say the limits, that my quota for interviews is 5, and then this endpoint would be checking, are we over 5? Should we show the notice or not allow this to happen? And if that's the case, then we show the error message, the alert, and whatnot. So let's start by creating this, and then we'll think about how to integrate the UI. So for an endpoint that returns JSON, SvelteKit, I have links in the description. As always, they have the server endpoints, which can return like strings, can return streaming responses and stuff like that, but we're going to be returning JSON, for which there is a nice handler. So I'm considering, should this be like /me or /API me? Let's say API me. Let's say that that is a good idea. Or should it just be /me? Not sure. You should be logged in to have a /me for sure. But I can get redirected to logged in. Not sure. Nah, just general. Let's say API me. So here we'll create a plus server.ts. And as we can see here, let's return this and see what happens. What's the example code that the SvelteKit team has for us. They're not using the satisfies anymore, which is good. So now if I refresh, I should get the number back, but what I actually want back is JSON. So let's just return a JSON of number. Why not? JSON is a helper that stringifies, I guess, what you're putting in, and also adds the appropriate headers to your response. So now we're getting JSON. The browser understands that it's JSON thanks to extension that I have, and we get this random number that sends every time. But that's not what we want. And yeah, we're not going to be using URL parameters or anything. We are going to be using the Supabase database, the Supabase client that we have in the locals, and maybe get session. Since this is unprotected, yeah, let's use the get session helper and do session equals get session, and make this async. And say if they don't have a session, let's return null. Is that a real thing? Can I return JSON null? No. Can I return a JSON of null? I think the answer is no. So what should I return here? Just the empty response. Is it like 2 or 3? Like no data, something like that. No content, 2 or 4. So yeah, in this case, let's say we return new response null. The status is gonna be 2 or 4, no data. Because you have no user. But now, of course, yeah, I should be doing this on incognito, shouldn't I? API me. But fail miserably. Just refuses to do anything. That may be null, right? So let's go there. Let's go APIs. Let's me internal error. So what's the problem? Invalid response status code 204. What? It's like, Johnny, you're trying to do something like too weird. You can only return 200. Let's quickly git. It's just a response with no content. It's not the real thing. I guess not. To return like this, I guess it'd be happy. Let's see it. So yeah, get this empty thing. So what should we return? Should we return initialization of user is null, and then we don't care too much. Maybe. Just return that the user is intentionally left blank. But if we are logged in, let's see how it would look. What if we return the whole session? So yeah, too many things. We can return session.user. Let's see what we have there. We have some metadata. So if you've been added on a wait list, that's something that this app could be using to gate access. So if you're on the wait list, then you have like no limit, like the return nothing. You can use nothing. You just see like a different page. That could be neat. This is the email identity and not the GitHub identity, I suppose. But yeah, we don't actually want to return this. Do we want to return your ID? Not sure. I guess we have to nest it at this point. So the user object, we can spread the session user. Does that always exist? I would imagine if you have a session, yeah. But we don't want to do that. We want to keep the ID. And maybe the email, I guess. And then return that if you are logged in. Yeah, we are gonna nest this here. It's not sure if it's good, but just should you not be hitting this endpoint and just return unauthorized? Is that easier? Yeah, why not? So let's just say that this is better, just because I don't like nesting things for no reason. So now you get like this response, and the point of it is that here you could be returning a role or a tier or something that makes sense for your app. So you could be returning tier is pro here, or the tier is free, or the tier is ultra. And you use that to make your decisions on whether you're gonna be gating some features or not, which I think we are gonna do. Where am I gonna keep the possible tiers? I don't know. Tiers of the kingdom. And we have the interview type here. Free Pro Enterprise, Free Pro Ultra, stacks of tiers. And I want this type, correct? So here, do I want the credential user type or something? Do I want the me type here? What about it? Me. Export type me. ID is going to be a string. Don't do it. Email is going to be a string. Tier is going to be a tier. And then I can type this. It's me. And that feels like something that should live in the lib directory, to be honest. So instead of routes, we have a lib, but no types here, I guess. Have schemas. Oh, interesting. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to like easily use this, but maybe that's what we want. I guess. Like we wouldn't be validating, the user wouldn't be updating this, so we wouldn't be validating like that. So maybe, what could we do? We could copy this file, go to lib, this types file, and just have the tier stuff in the me type there. So the me type, bring it in there, after all. Do not mess with what we had in that other more UI related file. So this one, forget it ever happened. And is this defined? It feels like it should always be defined. If they haven't signed up, we don't get it. I think we always get it. Not sure. They signed up with GitHub. Do we know? Maybe not. Maybe not. But in that case, we should do it like this. They will always have a tier. They may have an email. They may have like a GitHub username. Oh no, that's not something we'll be adding here. So let's just do it like this. ID, tier. We get those. And what I'm thinking now is, should this endpoint be responsible of the quotas, or should the interview endpoints be looking into the tier and then deciding, all right, free means that the quota for interviews is like 3 or 5 or 20. I don't know what would be handier. I think I will add it here. Oh, and it knows it was listen interviews number. But it could be optional. Maybe they have no limits. And I want to do like a switch case on the tier, and in the free case, limits becomes interviews 3. Break. In the pro case, limits becomes interviews 10. So the real thing. It knows that it's always free, so it doesn't really know. Oh, that's fine. It doesn't know what crazy thing we want to do. Yeah, case ultra is the same as the default case. That's nothing, I guess. And we can keep the limits here. Can say that limits is null. That's more explicit, I guess. So in this type, we can say that the limits is either like an object or null. And we'll figure out how to derive the tier based on other stuff later. But for now, let's say that we get these limits here. And what was my plan before? We created this endpoint, which I think looks decent. It figures out the user permissions based on a tier that they derive somehow. Not sure how. We'll see. It's gonna involve Stripe data we get thanks to handling some webhooks by Stripe. That's a bit in the future. So let's limit how many interviews users can create. We did say that the interview limit here is 3, but what does that mean? Does that mean that this page, instead of showing create new interview, it tells you you should be doing something else with your life, like paying us more money? Maybe. If you go to this page, should that page be checking how many? But no, like if this page was only checking when you get there, you could open like a million windows of this page, I guess. And then you create one here, and then you can still try to create one another there. So you'd still need the validation that you've got too many. So let's start from there. Like let's say we're here and we try to save, but we get a validation error first. We get the you need to be upsold. Cool. So indeed, me endpoint I think is handy enough. Let's keep it here for reference. Looks like this. Let's take a sip of coffee. Next step is, if you are in this page somehow, now you can just click this button. If you are in this page, click save, but you should be getting an error back saying you cannot do this actually. Actually, you have too many interviews already. You need to be upsold. And what this page is, of course, is this. We have the interview form, but we don't care about that. We care about the server. We do return this message back, so maybe we do care about the interview form actually. Because what happens? Does this have any error handling? See, we're not doing any date stuff actually. When you click save, is it just, I guess it's just YOLO. It's not even an enhanced form. Interesting. So maybe we should be turning this into an enhanced form actually. Always submits the page it's in, so it works for edit and new forms. But yeah, yes, I press the button, I get the vanilla navigation, and then nothing happens. Let's just error out first and worry about the UX later. So sometimes you get this message if you somehow do this, which is impossible unless you are intentionally naughty and mess with the browser validation. But we were saying that at this stage, instead of doing the insert, we do one final check of how many they got, how many interviews they currently have. So maybe our me endpoint can also be returning how many interviews they have already. Not sure. Not sure about that. But here we do want a count. How do you do a count in Supabase? Do you just call count in the end? I swear we did it recently. How billing works. Supabase, CLI, JavaScript, count. Now you can request a record and then you can ask to also return the count, which is interesting. So Supabase JavaScript client count. I wonder how many times I say it out loud. They don't have it, I guess. Just estimated rows. Not exactly what we want. I guess it's worth noting that we are using our list for row level security. A user is only able to create rows if they are about the username. So an interview that belongs to that user, you can only create that. You can only edit it if your user ID is a logged in user ID and that sort of thing. In theory, we could have like some complicated logic there where we check your user ID, but we also check if there are records in other tables that say you have this role and you have this many limits. But I think that's too complicated. I think having the me endpoint take account of that may be easier. So where exactly we'll be putting this, I don't know, but we will want just a count, I guess. Exact but slow. So can I do only a count, or is it like this? Indeed. The good thing is that this happens when you save the form, so like the user should feel like this is a fast app. In most cases, we won't be doing this count every time. Reference template with count, it says here. Guess we can do this. So will this make it faster? Probably. So hit through just to the count and that's it. Let's see. So it would be a count error. So from Superbase, from the same table, the interviews table, we want an exact count of the interviews. This should already be only the ones that this user can see because of row level security. So that's one thing we want to know. And we probably want to route here. Should be errors. Could be the same error, I guess. Generic error message, and in the logs we'll know what the exact code was. And then guess we want a similar thing here, where if count is more or equal, like a number, your limit of X interviews, we can even say this. Kinda unauthorized, but not really. Will that be null? Doesn't make sense. Maybe you have none, so maybe if you have none, it returns null, not zero. Sure. So if there is a count and the count is more than this, then you have exceeded your limit of X interviews. But how do we figure out this? The interview limit. This claims that we could have like a limits in the user in the session or whatever, but that's not true. We could have it as user metadata, but I think that's less flexible. So what we actually want to do is fence the me endpoint that we have. And because SvelteKit can do clever stuff when you are requesting internal endpoints, we are going to use its own fence. So SvelteKit will be able to do its clever stuff. Hopefully you can still see this fine. Less horizontal scrolling. So the interview limit rates, we could have a separate endpoint to check whether you've reached the interview limit, I guess. What I'm thinking is just get the credentials, limits, let's get the limits, get the user. Oh, getting there. So it hits API/me, which is what we wanted. And then user limits interviews, which we know may be undefined, I guess. Don't want to do that again. Let's say if there is an interview limit and there is a count and the count is over or equal to the limit, then we do all of this. And we can do like some optimization by having these two requests happen in parallel. So promise.all. And I can structure the result, but also do this fetch request here. It's my second promise. So my second thing will be the user there. All right, so with all of that, let's see that the me.server, I guess we have it here. So yeah, we have a limits interviews. And this says any, like how can I type this? Can I type this? As, not really. Here, as me. It's gonna be this type, it's gonna have limits or null. If it has it, this is gonna be a thing, number undefined. Cool. So we have some type safety here. And I'd expect that now, because I'm well over my limit of 3, this should fail. So if I save this, do I get an internal error? What do I get? Did I get anything? I didn't get redirected back. So let's play that in slow motion. I don't think we created it. I think we just got like a failing response here. Maybe we can see a bit better. I extend this. Friday the 13th NES game has an infamous end screen. Dark Souls and Souls like, I guess, have very famous ones. Manager. Master. Spend too much time with the examples. So, what happened here? So yeah, we did get a 400 for bad request, and that's it, I guess. It was my payload, and the response was this. That doesn't make much sense. So that was not what I expected. Did we get anything on the logs? No. like the response shouldn't have like the website. This is what we got. Should be just text. Interesting. Let's see. Do we make it here? Because maybe when we enhance the form, this is gonna work. So try again. Arian, senior, blah, tomorrow, save. Yeah, so we do make it there. We do get a response back, but I guess we're not enhancing the form, so the response is kind of weird. So let's enhance. Are we enhancing anything? We're enhancing this form in the profile, interestingly enough. And it has like a handle submit and stuff, and we have like all these states. So our login route is the same. So first step is complete. If you're over the limit, then we don't allow you to create interviews. Great. But like no, like UX is terrible. If this was costing us money, the company is saved because they're not going to be able to hack us like that. But the user experience is trash, so we need more indicators here. So in the interview form component, I guess we need to enhance this form and have like some indicators. And we can take inspiration from the profile page, I suppose. I have a few states. Idle loading or error, why not? Maybe copy everything from here. I usually handle forms the same way. I'm surprised I'm not typing this. And yet I'm not. Alright, the form is idle, the form is loading, or it's a route, then we handle the submit. If it's a success, then we're back to idle. I guess in reality, like that we get there direct if there's been a success. If there's a failure, we can respond with a message, but it may be a different failure. We'll see that. And then in the end, we always apply the action of the result, which will make the redirect happen, for example. So if we pretend we're in the loading state, do I have like a loading button? No. Do I have anything that messes with disabled? I guess this. Should I make this like a form button? I think so. Let's also have a look at the update name form. So what does it return? It returns this with this message. Okay, so if we have this message, we saw it, sure. In our lib, we have some components, we have this button. One of the things I did in the other project was use Daisy UI for this, because I was working with other people and I didn't want other people to be like, you know, to figure out what my styling solutions are, my custom 100-row styling solutions are. And Daisy UI I found quite good. But here, you'll have my custom stuff. So enjoy, I guess. A form button should be using this button, which I guess is the primary button that we have. Passing down the on click, not passing down the class, maybe passing down a class. Disabled, I guess the status, like maybe it gets past the status. Based on what we're doing here, like we say, oh, state is loading. So maybe we reuse that state thing. And then we can reuse that part where disabled is according to the state, but also if magic svelte if the state is not loading and so what they want us to show, or else so loading spinner. Yeah, have that. So, yeah, I guess not actually use this, obfuscate the disabled stuff. And here in our create page, actually in the interview form, instead of a button, use a form button. And pass down that the state is state. Was it changing the other button all this time? Export, you need to export this. All right, so with that done, yeah, we get the huge spinner right around my face too, kind of funny. So let's make this a reasonable size, 4, 5. But maybe we don't actually do it like that. Maybe the slot always goes as a span, in a span. It's design time, which is of course my favorite time. And there is a span for the icon, and maybe that span has the loading spinner if the state is loading. Oh, and I guess I do have like some disabled styles, which is cute, to say the least. But actually this is like if the state is loading. So we have the spinner, and I guess I wanted this to be in the start. Self start. Justify self start. Justify self justify start. No, that wasn't a real thing. Maybe this grows. Yeah, don't particularly like that. Maybe this should just be line. Maybe it should be like an if-else thing. Like you know that this is being saved. Don't you? design time. So the padding for this, how much is it? It's just 4. So I'm surprised that this absolute positioning thing. I guess because this has a W. Just, I guess 9, if that was a real thing, would be what we want. I guess if the text was like too big, then this wouldn't look super nice. Now let's do if else. I prefer if else. And we just need to ensure that the height is correct. Too much undo. Oh no. It's okay, we'll just reboot. So if state is not loading, render this slot, else render spinner, maybe a class of W6, and then end if. Yeah, that would feel correct, but the state should be loading now, right? Remove this, export, let's not export this. All right, so this happened. Have a form button. And state, let's say that if the idle state does jump a little bit. See it again. It does jump a little bit still. I'll try to specify the height then. So W6 is what I like here. But maybe this has like a specified height, this button of 12. Yeah, 12 does it. Maybe that's like too dark. Hey. So you press the button, it's loading. Okay, that's what we were doing, but that would never happen until we use the submit. So this form, we want to enhance it and pass it this method we were writing. And now yes, it tries to save momentarily and then gets to the error state, but we don't have any UI for the error. And let's create one. You can say if state instance of error. Let's render the message. Red text. I'm sorry, it's not gonna look nice, but hey. Yeah, so here you can just about see you have exceeded your limit of 3 interviews. So what is this? 3 ages ago we made this happen. in the server page here, you get this, you have exceeded your limit of X interviews. And maybe we can type this nicely, actually, uppercase it. All right, so the most common use case for this to fail is if they do happen to be on this page and they get gated. You get an error, you see this, so let's start with error. Did I copy this? That's so we can style this better. And in the Telegram config, do we have like an error color? We should. Like maybe an error surface. That month, and then an error color. So this is something with Daisy UI you won't need to think about. And foreground error. And let's go to our Tailwind CSS or a root CSS or app CSS. Yeah. And create one more color. Oh, so many things to set up. Error color light. It's gonna be whatever. Foreground error color dark. It's gonna be whatever. Surface error. Surface error. All right, and let's go to Tailwind. Customizing colors. I have it bullet somewhere here, right? Let's see. We're gonna use the let's see, dark mode. It's gonna be this on this. Not sure. Let's say it's this. And the light one, I'd say this. Transform into HSL. I think maybe in like modern Tailwind, you don't need to do that anymore. You can just pass in colors, hex codes. But hey, maybe not. Interesting how the hue is not the same. Let's see this working first before we worry too much. So it's the surface error. Blank, we got something. And text foreground error. I think that's a real thing. Let's prove it. So if this was like 20, does it become dark? Doesn't look like it did anything. So we got foreground error color, and here foreground error color dark, error color, oops. All right, so that's maybe legible, maybe not. Let's do this one, I guess. Let's do this. Am I doing the rose ones? I think so. Let's do this one. So for the foreground, again, styling stuff. Everyone loves styling stuff. A bit lighter, I'd say. It's readable. And rounded corners. Everyone loves rounded corners. So now you get this message, and if you were on light mode, ugh, you get blinded. But I guess the color for light mode should be something like this. So for the foreground error, it should be this, which will convert. Yeah, we can do it. I guess it's a hover thing, not a click thing, even though I do get the Mickey Mouse cursor. Oh well. Right. And the background can be this, the 300 one. Let me use this for this. So maybe we can do it quickly. Whoa. Too dark, so this be lighter. So they have copied this. Thanks, sir. Yeah. All right. I think that's readable. The UI here again. You can kind of see it. Light mode, dark mode. Looks decent. This pops up when the server errors out. So better UX all around, I would say. And in the edit form, I guess that should never happen. We still style the errors in case something goes wrong for the edit form, but we won't be saying, oh, you have like exceeded your limit, so you are not allowed to edit anything. Nothing works. I think that'd be too mean, so we're not gonna do it. I don't like mixing the margins. I like keeping bottom margins, but I guess for this one maybe fine. No real animation, it will just appear. We could do like a svelte transition, but it's fine. Right. So they try to create this and they're like, you've exceeded your limit. Is that what we want? And we've limited this so they cannot create it. Do we want the upsell notice? when they are at or over their quota. I guess that's the deal here. Do we want to notice here and create an interview saying you will not be able to do this? Not sure. Maybe. And would we want a notice here instead of create new interview? Like, you're gonna do this. How often do we want to remind people that they're over the limit? Not sure. I guess just here. Let's just do it here, and I'll think about better UX later. Conversion UX. So where is this? It's here. We have this title, and we want something like, oh, I almost forgot. This should start as idle. Just a quick stop to check my puppy. We're back. So interestingly, my puppy Summer got into her carrier bag to get more cozy, I guess. Just switch from sleeping on the couch to sleeping inside the carrier bag, and it's so cute because the carrier bag is so small for her now, but still very cozy. She does have a bed right here for streams, but she doesn't want to use it now. Maybe who knows? Right, so let's create an upsell notice here. I guess I shouldn't even see the form, right? But just in case, like we can have an alert as well. So this should be like an if-else thingy. So this route should be checking, are they over the limit or not? And showing the form or not. Hey girl, nice to see you. You have to leave, but the async follow along keeps going. That's great. And always, as always, thanks for dropping by, even if it's for like a short minute and a short hi. I do appreciate it. And we are getting to the premium features as well. So I know you're interested in. So I'm seeing what's the good UX there. As a business, we should be reminding people that they are over the limit already, so they can see the notice and then they click and then they get upsold, I guess. But if they happen to make it to this page, yeah, I guess instead of the create new interview, they should see a different button. But if they do make it to this page, let's also show them something instead of this. So they wouldn't actually be seeing that error. But if they have multiple windows open because they try to trick the system, that's when they'd get the server-side error response and the alert. So yeah, it's all for a valid reason. We have exceeded your limit of active interviews in our records, but we want to say maybe in a paragraph. this will be a hyperlink at some point to the upsell funnel, like to the membership page, to the buy flow. Right, so this page should know if they're over the limit or not. How do they do that? Do they also count? I'm wondering, should this page count how many interviews they have now? Probably not. So I think they would just be hitting that API endpoint. And this could be like a utility too, but you need to pass in fetch. So what the hell is utility? So let's get fetch. Let's do this actually. With this interview limit, and then we can return the interview limit. But we also want to know how many you have already, sadly. So I guess we want to do the exact same thing. We want the count, sadly. So we want the super base from the locals. If there is a counter, so there is a duplication of code in those routes. But I wouldn't want to pass like super base in a helper method and fetch. Not particularly, I think this is fine. I think in this case, let's just return an error. And we can return the interview count and the interview limit. So, with these guys returned, in our page, we can do an if. We should, to see that data, we need to export the data, and this will be magically typed eventually. And then do nothing to save this, so maybe this will get magically typed indeed. So we have interview count and interview limit. And we can do like if interview limit and slash or equal to interview count. And all of these are in data. Then we saw these paragraphs. Else we saw the form and we end the if. So we see this. You have exceeded your limit of activities in the records. Let's double check that this is a thing. I guess the UI could just get over limit, like does this person care how many you have? Maybe not. So let's amend this, like is over limit. maybe that one is like a helper method. Maybe not. No need to alias this. So yeah, let's create is over limit. Turn this. Turn this. Use this, but actually count is number or null. And this is number and I guess. And we can use this is over limit count interview limit. And we can use the same thing again. Here. And is that handier to see? Maybe. So in this page, we can just check data is over limit. And if we are, then we show this UI, or else we don't, and we allow people to create more. Great. Our endpoint could also be deciding this. Like at the moment, we are only using this to check this limit. So maybe that's what we should be doing there. So maybe our me endpoint could be doing that. And then we don't need to do this count. We just fetch API me, and then it checks. Because the only time we use the API / me, we also do this. Yeah. So here instead of showing your limits, we could be, or we could also be providing booleans. It's over interview limit. It's just for me, like for this app, this is fine. But if your app has like a million features, or you gate according to like many things, you may not want to do this and calculate this every time. Or maybe you would. Like for example, let's see like this super base pricing table. You'd probably have different logic, because you'll have what you may want to see, like the database space included, the storage included, the bandwidth included, the gigabytes of file uploads, like all those things. Would you make like separate booleans for each one? Maybe. Maybe you would. So it's over limit. Maybe like you can nest them there if you're worried about it. So you can have this is over limit interviews boolean. And this could also be like false, false, false. Or you could return the tier, and then the tier is the one that tells you whether they're over the limit or not. So yeah, maybe this is undefined. This, like for some users, for ultra users, that'll never be over the limit, I guess. But never say never. maybe you don't need to do this. I don't know. Figuring it out. Let me know if you have suggestions. So let's go back to our me endpoint. So I'm thinking now that the user should have like an is over limit, and then the interviews should be something like this, right? But what's interview limit and count and like all of this? Well, we will be getting from Supabase. Oh, I had it here structured already. So from this server endpoint, this request, I guess. And currently I don't do any other Supabase request. So that should be fine. So maybe at this stage, we do await the count error. And if there is an error here, we can return an error response and throw an error response. Now we have all of those things, and the interview limit is actually going to be in the limits interviews. That exists. And I guess they want me to flip that. So now let's see, this endpoint does return that we are over limit. And in our other endpoint, we can actually just use that and get the over limit thingy. So much like we're hiding how we get the tier of the user, we can hide whether they're over limit or not. Or you can have like the user privileges here, whether they're on the wait list or whether they have access to a specific feature. We can kind of feature flag like that. A different way to interpret feature flagging. Whether they have access to a special alpha feature here. Right. So I wanted to get into this file, and where I'm also taking Supabase for this, I just want to do this actually, and say const user await this fetch, and this should never happen in this stage. And here, I can just do is over limit. Is over limit interviews, and check that. And like maybe we don't need to provide like an information here. Let's make it easier. We do have the information in the user payload, but who cares? And I guess we'd want instructions. So we don't need this helper anymore. And we do the same thing when loading the data. So here, these two things can go together. Don't know why this paste stack thing, I'm using something else for a paste stack. Right, so instead of doing all of this, I'm just doing this fetch call, so I'm not going to be using superbase. It's just a boolean that the UI is going to see. So the UI here knows that I've exceeded my limit of active interviews in our records. I need to delete one, blah, blah, blah. Would this page be doing the same thing to show an alert? I guess, instead of this button. So we keep adding things to pages that the users won't be seeing. But hey, that's what you do. Start with the errors and the bad scenarios first, because you'll forget about them. So we're in this page, which has this UI, which has this button, and I guess here we only want to get there if we're not over limit. Else we saw this. And if. Do we need something in there for SvelteKit to be happy? I guess not. So here would be, I guess we can show an anchor. Great, your plan. Is the upsell like too big? This should be like a smaller notice, surely. Surely. On the create page, on the form, I guess, from interview form, we have this thing which we could say it's like an alert component. Inline alert, they call them, who knows. But yeah, just do like a slot here. In the interview form, you can just use alert, inline alert, and it's gonna work fine, I'm sure. Why am I doing this? Because I'm thinking that maybe we want like a different notice. Warning. Notice warning and notice alert. Sure. And all of this to go here. Notice warning. Hello. Is it not a real thing? I think it is. Let's do fail ones. Start importing it. Cool. Should I create the yellow colors and spend like 10 more minutes trying that? I guess. First, or should this be inside p tags? Something weird has happened to this. Oh no, it's like it's just a hanging carry. Oh, so this just be an alert. It's very aggressive. Very aggressive. I think it should be like yellowish, right? And this would be a hyperlink to upgrade your membership. But, you know, maybe they'll contact you in Discord or email and then you'll do it for them. So that's an option, how you can go live faster with like a smaller amount of users before really needing to automate this and the flow. Yeah, so do I want to mess with colors now? Is it now or never? Maybe not. And let's make this a bit more real. So again, we'll have our load method. So this one should be returning whether they're over the interview limit. And we'll take inspiration from the create one, where we can just do this. We have a superbase query here, interestingly enough. So we will be doing the promise all thing. So instead of here, this is promise.all array. The structure of the array, first item is the superbase query, second item, and get the user because it's gonna be the fetch. Did I forget to get fetch? Yes. Yeah, so that was it. So if we're over the limit, we see this. If we're not, then we see the other thing. And let's kind of test it out. So if we go to like the server endpoint, the me endpoint, we'll just say that, oh, actually, you're like in the ultra tier. Then, oh, I would have expected this to be like it could be cast. So is over limit should be returning false. It is great. But this is already that reached the limit. So what's that about? Is it that we're shipping the cast still? Looks like it's gonna be fresh. What was my casting interval? 10 seconds. Yeah, it's been way more than 10 seconds. Yeah, I'm not using it. I'm not using this in the UI. Too bad. Too bad. So in the release page, I was saying that we will look into the data for over limit. If that's true, then we do this. Great. So here again, we said that we are on the free tier, but if we were on the pro tier, then we are on the limit, or over the limit, so we don't get the create button. But we can still use the app and edit the ones that we've created, even though we're way over limit. So that's fine. But yeah, let's say we go through the flow or we send an email and I manually get you to the ultra tier. So suddenly you're on the ultra tier, bam, you can use this again. So that's a cool point. Clip this point. I think that's a cool thing to show. So upsell notice done. We talked about the free pro ultra user. We did actually deliver this and this. But what's a free pro ultra user anyway? Now we just hard code like, oh, it's free or whatever. How do we derive this? I guess the idea is that we'll have a Stripe product that they'll be able to subscribe to. Stripe also calls this recurrent payments, the subscription stuff. And if they have one of those subscriptions, then we define them as pro. But if they have like the premium subscription at a different price, then maybe we define them as ultra. But there may be some complications there because usually companies could offer different products. For example, I don't particularly want to set up another business just for this, the Nexify business. So I'd probably have this be part of the Johnify empire. So in Stripe, I will have a separate product for like, you can subscribe to Johnify, and maybe if you are on the pro tier of Johnify, you're on the pro tier of any other like mini app that I'm gonna create. Or if you're in the ultra tier for Johnify, then you are in the ultra tier for everything else that I'm ever gonna create. But you can also have the Nexify product in there. That's, I guess, cheaper, where you can individually say, all right, I'm on the pro tier of that or the ultra tier of Nexify specifically. But that means you need some business logic somewhere that knows, that has that use case, that if they have this product, then it means they are like free tier or pro tier or ultra tier. But if they have this other product, that also means that they're in the ultra tier of this one. I'm just trying to say that deriving the user tier sometimes is not as simple as they've bought this or they have this subscription. And that's another thing. Sometimes, even though subscriptions are the way to go nowadays, like for the past year or two, it's been the trendy way apps are trying to monetize. Sometimes you just have bespoke things. Sometimes you just buy a product. It still happens. Or sometimes you have like a quota of like 10,000 messages, like 10,000 tokens, like how OpenAI has us work with ChatGPT, and then on demand you can say, oh, I want to buy like 10k more tokens or something like that. So in this scenario, maybe you can buy the interviews a la carte. It wouldn't really make sense for this, but if we had the OpenAI thing for resumes, like you could buy a la carte 10 more resumes, for example, 10 more resume analysis thingies, and that's not related to Stripe subscriptions. That would be one-off payments, and then you need to manage quotas, that sort of thing. That's a whole different beast. They have something for quotas and like exhausting resources and stuff like that, Stripe. But the point is that there are many ways to go about this, and having an endpoint that kinda hides all of that stuff from other places in your app, having the one place that has the business logic of what the user is able to do, sounds like a good idea to me. So that's what I'm trialing now. Yeah, so if they're on a trial, like do you have them fall back to the ultra case where they have none, or do you have them fall back to the pro case? Maybe you want to experiment with what that means, and you can have this one place that decides what happens. And I do think it's easier to test. It's easier to have to unit test parts of this process. It's easier to have mock service worker or something, or just stub out this one endpoint and have it return what you want to test at the moment, instead of setting up mock service worker, instead of going to Stripe dashboard and changing prices and stuff. I do think it's just easier to hide it here, and then you can more easily impersonate a particular user tier or use case. Anyway, that's my case for doing it like this. I think it makes sense. But in reality, instead of just having this be hard-coded forever, we'll be checking our database. And I do have some database schemas of what we may want to be syncing with Stripe to derive whether the user is on the free tier or not. But I guess for today, the idea is first to just start listening on some Stripe webhooks. We'll want to start listening on when a user has been created, I guess, and when a user has bought a product, and take it from there. Just to open the thing that we have done in other streams for the Zonify project. We do have this migration that is based on an XCS project that we've done live, and that the Next.js team has also done. So here, they suggest that we create a customers table that has the ID that references the user ID from the secret auth label, and the Stripe customer ID. I don't know why this is text and not UUID. Not sure what Stripe gets back. We'll be validating this. And also, I do think I would just add this to our users table. We have a public users table in our app here, so I wouldn't create a separate customers table. But that's just me, something to consider. And then we're also singing all the products in Stripe, which makes sense. I don't know what exactly would be saving here, but we'll validate this. The prices as well, which are linked to products, is something that is synced with webhooks, and probably something that we'll be doing here as well. But do I need to know all these details? Maybe not. Maybe all I need to know is that it's the price ID, the product ID, whether it's active, and that's it. Not sure. We'll investigate that. The subscriptions are interesting because that's a big one. That's when a user buys a subscription, then we get lots of data back, depending on whether they've started and it's active, or whether they're trailing, or whether they've posted, or whether they've stopped but it's going to be cancelled eventually. There are quite a few things that we can handle there, but not certain if we should be storing all of this. Stripe has this, should we have it in our own database as well? Not sure, maybe some of that stuff. So that's the thing I want to explore, and to do that we'll need to have a look at the webhooks that Stripe is sending to us first, before we decide what we're actually going to be storing in our database. So that's going to be the next part of this stream. Talked about this. Let's listen for some webhooks. And I do have a link here that I should open. Why use webhooks? So first up, I'd imagine is create another server endpoint that is going to be looking at the webhook, whatever Stripe sends. And I have like an example here, but they say that we should always return with a received true, because if they don't, then they just retry, and we don't want them to retry when we've already handled it. So let's make that happen. We won't be responding to /webhook. We'll be doing /webhook/Stripe, because you never know, you may get webhooks from different services as well. So I like namespacing them. So let's do that. It will also help reestablish our learnings. So could be API, but it's not public API. So we'll do /webhook/Stripe. We want this to not 404. We want this to be a server response. How do we do that? We did that very recently with a me endpoint. So you should know this and do the sip of coffee. So that name of the month, some people ask about this as well. You have a chance to think, you have a chance to reply for yourself. It's great for retention, to reestablish learnings. So what we do is reflect this path in the directory structure of our app. Inside source routes, we want a webhooks, is that what I said? Not sure, /Stripe. And then inside that, or whatever the path is going to be, we want a server.ts. Webhook. Let's do webhooks. Webhook. When I do like the magic link callback, I'd say /callback/Google, not /callbacks/GitHub or whatever. So let's do webhook. Seems like a more of a standard. And I just deleted how to do this. I'll do it again just to reestablish the learnings. Server. What's happening? Plus server. That's what I wanted. Copy this. Paste this. Immediately this should get us the random number again. What Stripe wants us to return is notation with received true. Easy enough to do with SvelteKit. Will you be using anything else? Not sure. Receive true. Is that what Stripe wants? Yes. Great. And the request body is going to have the event. Is that true? Should we be passing this somewhere? All right. So now with the command line tool, we should be able to listen to events and even trigger events. And there is a VS Code plugin that we may be adding. Hello Polidoro, hello Miguel in the chat. I was planning to reply to you as well about Polidoro as the name. I should know this, I should have known, because I do like the Pomodoro method, but I also like that period of culture, I would say. I love the Mediterranean culture of the times, so I should be able to derive that Apollodoro is about a statue, like a golden statue of Apollo, I suppose. I will be looking into it, talking about your username. So yeah, first let's listen to everything. Let's see if the CLI works. For one, you do need Docker installed for the CLI of all things, but I do have it. But let's see if I can actually use it. And wait, I actually want to forward to this. Uh, 5173, the default SvelteKit port, webhook, Stripe. It's kind of the default Vite port. And then they'll want us to open the browser to validate with Stripe, I guess, this tool, if you haven't done it before. So let's see. Open a different one. So let's try harder. Copy URL. I want this window where I'm logged into Stripe. It wants to confirm a password, so let's do that in secret. World's longest password. Confirm. Seal dazzle counter up. Allow access. Good, we should be very fine. I love how Stripe works. I love their docs. I think they have an amazing team. It's personally amazing. The architect of the Pantheon in Rome, amazing. I have spent so much time in Athens, and I always say that Rome is so much better to live in. You can walk around everything and you feel the history. You see so many monuments. It's like walking in a museum, but it's outdoors and the weather is amazing. Unlike Athens, where of course we do have the Acropolis, but you kind of need to make it a trip to get there and walk in there. The vibes aren't the same, and we have so much more pollution. I love Rome. And yeah, as a recap of the stream, we've made this happen, so you cannot anymore create a million interviews for you. You should be on a better tier to be able to create more interviews, and that's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to sync up with Stripe. We're starting to do that part of the flow, so we know if a user has a membership, and then we can say, all right, if they have a membership, their limit should be none, or their limit should be 100 interviews. So is the CLI happy? Great, despite the red text, it looks like it is happy. So let's try to forward there again. They gave us a webhook sign-in secret, which we are going to use. Or can we like self-update CLI since they were asking? So let's do it in another window, bigger window. No self-update, self-upgrade, no Stripe version. How did I install it? I guess I may have homebrewed it. If it's the first option, I'd usually go for the first option. Should I not have done this live? We'll find out soon enough. All right, so let's listen and forward. Great, we have the secret, which we're gonna use. And we can trigger like any webhook that we want, like this. So maybe console log. I don't think with their error or something. Let's see if we get this log in this window. So many windows. Apologies. So here, nope, I'll be using that momentarily. Let's trigger like anything. So it's saying that it did this. Quite a few created, succeeded. I wonder if that's the. So first the charge happens, I guess, then the payment, and then the succeeded. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Did we get the logs? We didn't. Well, that's not what I was expecting. Because, like, this is a real thing, right? We get like a receive true, sure. Yeah, we get there. It did post it there. Ah, of course, it's a get handler. It should be a post handler. So this is made up. This should be a different thing. They do post requests here. Post. So we need to export a post method. Name it post. The name of the verb. I guess it's the verb. The verb. So let's try again. So now we are getting webhooks. Great. Of course, before like 4 or 5, I guess it tried and got this response back. And now it got 200. So great. We are listening to webhooks. Great. Step done. They have the secret there. Register the webhook. All of that. We'll do it later. But let's do the security bit. We'll need to check whether it's unsigned or not. Verifying signatures using our official library. So that's what we want. We're going to be bringing in Stripe. Guess we're going to be using a test key here. And then the endpoint secret is going to be something as well that we'll be getting from .env. When you create a webhook in the developer dashboard, as it says here, it will tell you this webhook, the secret is this. But this thing, when we set up the forward, and it did tell us that it's going to be sending this webhook secret. We want to ensure that we only handle official Stripe events, so we won't get hacksorted. We won't get people pretending they paid because they managed to. Well, you can try to fake Stripe payload very easily. The thing that's impossible to fake is the signature, because you don't have this. You don't have the secret. All right, so we will open this. We will have a Stripe webhook secret, which is going to be, let's name it like this. Let's uppercase the names because that's something I changed my preference recently to do it like that. And I think we'll have like 2 keys for Stripe, or just a secret key. Maybe just a secret key. So Stripe secret key, Stripe secret key. We'll be initializing the API like this. We'll be getting this from the dashboard here. So we have one from Tonify, this one. Let's go to test mode. Oh, CLI key, we created maybe this one. Public key, test key. Is it just one? Can we create another one? No? I guess not. There is a plus thing here. Delete, roll it. I guess you only have one. Even for this? All right, good to know. So in any case, I will need to slide this to my other screen because I will need to paste a couple things for us. So no need for Figma. By the way, look at how many episodes we did last year. Quite a lot. Quite a lot indeed. So I probably want to slide this away here. I can keep us in the agenda. We are listening to webhooks. We did create this. Guess where, like, secure our endpoint. On the response Stripe. And while that happens, I need to get my code in the other window because I need to update my .env. And one of the keys I want, it doesn't matter, because it's going to be this. Doesn't matter if it gets leaked, the webhook secret. But while I'm here and I'm doing this, might as well reveal the test key in the other window and copy it and paste it here. And close this and refresh this. And then I can bring this back. Cool. So now that we're back, we are able to initialize the Stripe CLI using not the Stripe CLI, the Stripe client, using their own JavaScript library. So we can bring that in. So this one, I guess that's the Stripe. You can create the Stripe client too. I wonder why they're doing it with require. I guess it's Node. I remember examples with Next.js. I don't think they have SvelteKit ones. But hey, that's by the by. To first, let's bring in Stripe. Here we go. And now, just to make sure to not leak anything, can roll the keys as well. To make sure, first of all, in our .env, we are not prefixing this with public, so it will never make it to the client no matter what you do. But as yet another security measure, we can add the Stripe client in lib.server directory. Everything that's in the lib server directory, SvelteKit takes yet another extra measure to ensure that it will never run on the client. So if we have a Stripe TS here, And I think that's the thing I pasted. Yeah, it's a simple one. But actually, we want to import, I guess, Stripe from Stripe. So yeah, all of this is useless. Stripe from Stripe. And yeah, export const the Stripe client, new Stripe. That's not how I'll have the key. We can bring in it with SvelteKit. That's how you bring in static private environment variables. And the API version currently is this one. So if you want to ensure you are hitting the correct API version, you can specify this. You can also initialize the client without doing this. But this gives me more confidence to almost blindly upgrade the dependency to the Stripe library we brought in with the pnpm install if you specify the API version here. So I do it. And now that we've done this, I guess we need to get the Stripe signature from here. And then we can do like these crazy things. The Stripe library, you can construct the event and it can error out if something goes wrong, like if the security, if the signature is not correct. So let's try to copy that. So in our webhook here, I could have sworn I copied more lines. So we have the request here. Do we have the headers? No, we have set headers. So in the request, we should have these. So get this header. And the endpoint secret, again, we're going to bring in with Stripe webhook secret. .env. And this Stripe, we're not going to be bringing in from the npm Stripe. We're going to be bringing in the client we've already initialized. And here, instead of SaaS response, we can just return a new response. With this. This is just an error, like that. I want to double check this. Throws an error with any source code. Let's instead return a response. No need for send. This is not express. And do we need to try catch this? Yes. Right. So this can be a string or a buffer. We can say if no request body and then it will be caught and it will make it here. Great, that's exactly what I wanted. Right, so now, oh, it thinks it could be a readable stream. So what can I do? Should I just get the text? Maybe. So now it's happy. Like if I don't do this, is it still happy? I guess so. Yeah, that will always be text. Hopefully that's correct. Maybe we don't want this log. Doesn't really matter. What else do we want? Now that's how we get here. Maybe it should be like a 401 actually, but it doesn't really matter. It should be. Maybe it does matter. Is it 4-3? Forbidden 401. So yeah, 401 unauthorized. And then we have the event here, and then we can do like stuff with the event. But let's send some events. Let's send another payment, or should we do like one more thing? We can handle all the events that we want. So we can do this. They want us to block scope these variables. Examples. I think we're sending payment intent. Yeah, so we will make it to this log. We'll be seeing a few logs here. Let's trigger another one. We should still make it. Great. Experiment created says we're not handling that. Succeeded. Yeah, we got in there, or else we get to the unhandled event type. Great. And if our secret was something else, or let's say it was like this, then I guess the verification would have failed. So let's try that. So Marina, my beautiful dog, you came here. My doggy came to sleep. So you see that we get 400s now, because we have managed to secure our webhooks. They do send us webhooks with Stripe signature, but let's say this is a malicious third party that is sending a Stripe signature that's not quite correct. Then the construct event here from the Stripe library is gonna validate the signature against our webhook secret, but the malicious third party doesn't have our secret because I didn't leak it on the stream. And it's gonna throw an error, so it's gonna go into this case of the 400. And we won't say like unauthorized, just to not give like more information, I guess, at this point. Just a generic 400, like something happened. Did we actually say something? No logs for us. Great. So we're not paying for logs. They get something back, 400, and hopefully nothing crazy. Not too much information here. But yeah, with the actual secret, then that passes, doesn't error, and gets to this case where we can handle the payment intent, payment methods, and that sort of thing. Cool. So we did this somehow. What are the webhooks events that we have available? Do they have like all the events in the world? We'll probably want to handle, there's like a million events, but we'll get into the ones that we really want to have. So customer ones, that's how we'll be mapping Stripe IDs to our own IDs. So it's a good idea to figure those out. Subscriptions, custom subscriptions. Sounds very important. Updated customers, maybe we care about, not sure. I don't know what exactly we get here. And are there like payment stuff, subscription stuff? So as far as the customer is concerned, I think these are the ones where we'll be listening into and then putting them into tiers according to this. I'll think about it offline, and our next stream we'll be doing more. But customer has updated as well. So this one, let's try to listen to that one. My guess is that we want the created customer one. Deleted, maybe not, probably not. Yeah, if they delete their account, then will I stop getting subscriptions for them? Not sure. Like I will need to look into this. So let's look into handling this. Customer source. What are sources? I don't think we'll care about this. Subscriptions, yes. Interesting. So you have a few subscription ones here. let's just handle them. Let's just do it. So create it, delete it, post, pending update, probably not. Resumed. I guess we can look into whether to handle this. Maybe not, we'll know. This is mostly for myself to double check whether we're gonna need them or not. Pending update expired. I don't think we need that one either. But this one we would resume it. So we may get away just doing these. But realistically, we'll also need to do the product events and do the price events as well, because we want up-to-date prices in our website. So if we go into Stripe and we add the product, I guess maybe we will have the products hard-coded, but if we add a price to a product or we change the price, we'll want to have them in our database. We won't want to do a code deployment to update the site to reflect what the new prices are, especially if it's like seasonal prices or something like that. So I do suspect we'll need to do quite a lot of those. Just a quick look what those are. Price events are here, created and stuff. But yeah, we'll look into those offline and do like a proper stream on what we should be handling and how. The point is, let's see what type of event we get. Oh, on all the cases, I should be doing the event data stuff. Whoops. So here, so they have like a data, event data object. That's what we want. So maybe on all the cases. See how this looks. And let's see how the customer event looks. Let's trigger customer created. Succeeded. And we created a customer. They have an ID, which is not a unique ID. It is text, indeed. Prefixed with cus for customer, I suppose. And delinquent. Are they a teenage delinquent? I never expected this information. And maybe the email would want, maybe not. So yeah, not sure about that. We would definitely be mapping the Stripe ID, customer ID to our user IDs. That's the only way we'd be able to figure out what stuff they're on. And when they create a subscription, let's see how that looks. So let's trigger that test event. So that's interesting. It's setting up quite a lot of things. So maybe we get like a customer event and quite a lot of things for a customer to create a subscription. Let's see what they do. So we run this. They attach a payment method maybe to a customer, they create the customer, then they create a product, which I guess we'd have created, we definitely need to handle this. Then they create a plan, then they create a price, then they create a charge, then they update the customer, then they create the customer subscription, then they say that the payment, they went through the payment flow, I suppose, they created an invoice even and paid it, and all of that. So maybe even those will need to monitor. And we do have unhandled events, but let's see where we left. So this was there. This was just a customer created event, and then there were like a million events coming. Payment method attached, customer created, we do handle this. We get this customer object, great. Then we create products, plans, prices, blah, blah, blah. At some point they create a subscription. So the subscription has an ID and it has information that we don't care about, but also when it ends, maybe we want to keep track of that. The customer ID, customer is the customer ID, we definitely want that. And the items, I'm not sure if the data of that will be the actual price or what they signed up for. So that's the thing that we'll be looking into to put them in the correct tier, I'd imagine. Maybe it's a plan. Yeah, it's going to be the plan. So the plan has a price attached to it, and that's how we know if they're in the pro plan or not. Which product, which price they paid for which product. Interesting. We won't be doing like licensed usage. And the status is active. And then they run whether the payment succeeded or not. Which I'm not sure if that's the correct way to go. Like, should we be waiting for whether the payment succeeded or not? Not sure. We create a subscription. Would we then get like a pause or something? Should we be awaiting whether the update is applied or whether the payment intent completed? I don't know. That's something that I will know more next time and fill in the blanks, the details. What else for today? I think the Stripe VS Code extension. So should I install this? Apparently Stripe has a VS Code extension that only has 3 stars, but the Stripe team is amazing. So I would imagine that it's actually good. The last update is like 2 years ago, or like a year and 2 months ago. So should I not install it? The reviews are bad, but the reviews that are bad are from ages ago. I guess like from last year, so not that bad. Maybe Windows people, who knows, works fine for Matei, which is good to know. Will I try today? Probably not. But in theory, it does add a little thingy on my bar on the left where I can send Stripe webhooks right from here. They can give you like some sort of snippets that you can paste in your code. It does have like a few cool things, but I do think since like this, just doing stuff in the terminal went so well, I'm not gonna be using it today. So yeah, I think the answer to that is maybe, but we won't be trying it. So we have added it into the bonus stuff. Next time, I'll have figured out what events we should be handling and altering or running the migrations. So our database will be handling them accordingly. And finally, get through the flow. People are buying our product and they're able to create interviews according to their tier. For now, I guess everyone will just be hard-coded into the free tier. The idea here would be we do have some record in a database that, all right, this user with this user ID corresponds to this Stripe user, and therefore they have this subscription, which means they are pro tier, or they are ultra tier, or they are trialing for pro tier, like something like that. I'll have a better schema in mind. Next stream, I am also taking this Friday off, so next Tuesday in 1 week we'll be back with a vengeance to get things through. I think it's going to be super exciting. It was a fun stream today. I did like the inspiration of the /API/me endpoint. Let me know if you like it as well. I explained why I like it. I'll probably like it next week still, but we'll be expanding on exactly this, what the API/me endpoint does to figure out which tier you're on, what are your limits, and all of that. Cool. If there are no more questions, thank you everybody for watching, especially the people keeping me company in the chat. I like knowing that you're around. I like knowing that what I'm doing is useful to you, or at least entertaining and helps you pass the time. But most of all, I want to help you learn. I want to help you do cool things in tech because I love tech. I love building stuff, solving problems, that sort of thing. All right, I think this is it. Have lovely days today, lovely rest of the weeks, and I'll catch you next time in Live Coding and Chill. Bye.